Hey guys, how's it? Aloha, this is Jeebs here, your old composer here at the Decomposer Lounge, dissecting songs that you suggest. This week I am revisiting some of my most suggested songs throughout the last 10 months of artists or bands that I've already done tracks on here, but I haven't quite gotten into their, more popular mainstream-ish kind of track. So this one here is Disturbed, Down with the Sickness. I believe this is the track that for me, when I first just heard that the thing that sometimes people leave in the comments, the wah kind of thing, it might be a signature thing that they use. I've only done, I think, 3 or 4 tracks from them. Of course, that was very hooky in of itself when I first heard that when I was, younger. But I didn't really rinse into it like I'm going to right now as your Decomposer here. So, Disturbed, Down with the Sickness coming up. Thank you so much for those of you who have bought me a cup of coffee. You know the videos don't monetize the channel. You want to buy me a cup of coffee, super cool beans. Check out the headsets I'm using. Also Disturbed, Spotify. The link will be down below. And as well, my Patreon. Having a great time over there. What I do on Patreon stays on Patreon, so I do lyrical breakdowns and a bunch of other stuff. You can just check the link, click it, and see what's there. Maybe in lieu of a cup of coffee if you want to join me there. Super cool beans. Disturbed, Down with the Sickness. All right.
It's slowly changing in me. Will you give it to me? Looking at my own reflection, when suddenly it changes, violently it changes. Oh no, there is no turning back now. You've woken up the demon in me. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Open up your hate and let it open to me. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. You mother, get up, come on, get down with the sickness. You fucker, get up, come on, get down with the sickness. And this is the gift that has been given to me.
Arrangement dynamics at its best, and what I mean by that is that well, obviously, even starting with that big fat, warm, but heavy, dark tom sounds that just opens us up and it gets us into this kind of ritualistic, cultural kind of vibe. That's that thing. All drummers know this, I believe, and when it's used in arrangements, generally that this is a call to action and stuff. It's like war drums and stuff. That's where whatever the pattern is, that's the pattern I believe of this one. And so they kind of get you into that, even though we're in a straight 4/4 here. But it's the arrangement and also the accents that kind of gives this kind of a really cool, it's not syncopated, it's not kind of polyrhythmic kind of a thing, but because of the accents on the guitars that come in, as well as even him coming in with all intent and purposes, a non-lyrical performance doing the rah, rah, and then the I mean, that is a part of a rhythmical arrangement that kind of pulls you in a dark, heavy way. Now, so the whole power is all in and stuff, and he's singing. Here's what I love about the dynamics and the arrangements here that's going on here. First of all, his voice it's kind of unmeasured in how incredible his voice is and what he can do with it and his passion within his performance. But let me get into what I loved about what I heard. It's like in the first half, or the first half of the verse, very muted, very dry. Listen, a hi-hat, very straightforward. It was just everything in that first half of the verse was very dry and very tight. And then as he's performing, it's almost like it felt like me like a little knife was just kind of cutting a little scalpel, or kind of scalpel cutting into like a little bit of a soulful kind of dig. Because in the second half of the verse, if you listen, they're letting up on the mute a little bit and letting it ring out. So now it's getting fatter and bolder and bolder and bolder, and getting wider in the ambience. You know, it's not so dry and muted down. It's all fat and starting to get widened out and stuff. And then, of course, when they power into the hook, what I love is the harmonics. I guess they call them pinch harmonics or something. I've read some of the comments because I made comments in the back, and I try it on my guitar now and then. I guess maybe it's from here or something. But I love that as an arrangement, you know, and also the hard left, hard right, separate recorded guitars also adds to that element of the dynamics and stuff. So anyhow, let me go back a little bit and let's continue on.
Sadness is the gift that has been given to me. I can see inside you the sickness is rising. Don't try to deny what you feel. Will you give it to me? It seems that all that was good has died and is decaying in me. Will you give it to me? It seems you're having some trouble in dealing with these changes, living with these changes. Oh, now the world is a scary place. Now that you've woken up the demon, the enemy. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Open up your hate and let it open to me. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. You mother, get up, come on, get down with the sickness. You fucker, get up, come on, get down with the sickness. And this is the gift that has been given to me. When I dream, when I dream, when I dream, and when I dream. No, homie, don't do it again. Don't do it.
Okay, I'm sorry, I got to stop. Don't worry, I'll get back into it. I'll bring us back through that. But I like how they really juiced us up in this bridge after the second hook, you know, by completely lifting the arrangement, which usually a bridge is in most cases, that's what it is before they bring you around towards the end again. A bridge could be a completely different arrangement, rhythm, excuse me, meter or something like that. But I like how they lifted that into a different arrangement. I loved what the drummer was doing with the hi-hat. I'm always very keenly aware for some reason, I guess maybe because it was one of my first instruments when I was a kid, where there's a, you know, the little 30 seconds that'll sit there, it flares and stuff, you know. Very important, and it also registers in a very high part of the tonal spectrum in its own way, you know. And also something else I want to mention, and then I'll go back and then we'll listen to this all the way through, is if you notice there's a meandering kind of a menacing note that's being played behind, at least in the second verse you can hear it all the way through, and I think there was a little bit in the second half of the first verse. So in other words, they're killing it on the riff and the chugs and stuff like that, but listen, and there's this like menacing note in the back. And also the way he also finishes off a couple phrases in what you might think would be this minor drops, instead of going da 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 da, he decided to drop it up, or I'm sorry, wait, da 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 da, that kind of a thing right there. That's kind of this Middle Eastern kind of vibe. He drops this note in just a couple times, but I like that because it really kind of takes you a little away from what might be predictable, you know, where he was going to go in his melody. But he dropped those notes a couple times in the melody that I thought was really sick. Okay, I'm going to go back now. I'm going to see if we can't remember where that bridge was, and then we'll listen to it through. So here we go.
When I
Man, you know what else I noticed in there too as well is, I mean, that the syncopation, or there's this kind of polyrhythmic kind of vibe in there that for a second it swung me around that little phrase before this finish that we already recognized as the hook. I was going, man, is that did they flip a 6/8 in there and stuff? But a lot of I believe maybe you guys drummers and musicians can help me out on that one. Whether or not, since you might have that experience, maybe you read the music, you know what they're doing and stuff. But for the first time listen, I didn't know if they were floating around a little 6/8 and weaving it around, or they were just, you know, a little bit of syncopated joy there. But what a great, and another thing is too is the engineering. I love the way the kick sounds and the bass. Something else that I enjoy too is when the kick is not necessarily following every bit of the chug in the riff. So when there's space, sort of boom, 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 and it's a chug, and the kick is not following it a lot of times. It gives it a different kind of breathing room and space, even though the chug of the riff is killing it and moving it forward by letting the kick arrangement breathe a little bit. And it also creates kind of a unique, stronger pocket for the vocals. And the vocals on this, because I only remember the couple of other tracks that I did, his vocals are a little sunk in the pocket slightly, you know, and the power is definitely the riff and you know, the whole rhythmical arrangement and everything like that, but he's kind of sunk in it. But his voice is so powerful. It's so Ginsu knife, you know, with a set of how do you do's. We get down with the sickness here, Disturbed. Anyhow, guys, thank you very much. This week, remember I said I'm going to be revisiting. I've got a couple more bands that have already been really big on the channel that I'm visiting again. And then starting next week, I'm going to do something completely different here on the channel. I think I'm going to, well, I'll let you know. We'll see if you like it. You know, I'm just having fun. I'm not chasing numbers. Oh, by the way, I broke 190,000 today. I'm kidding. I just got through saying I wasn't chasing numbers, right? I want to thank you guys for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for sharing these videos. These videos are ending up in the craziest places with reviews and stuff. Some good, some bad, but because you guys are sharing it, and I found a couple on Reddit, and I was like, what? How do they do that? And then I realized, yeah, they can link it. Link it. Oh, crap. Buy me a cup of coffee if you think I deserve it. Link and everything, headsets below, Patreon link below, and also Disturbed's Spotify or YouTube is also going to be down below. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you guys later. Aloha.